Hello and welcome to the Pathfinder Show. I am Toni Gorman, your host, and today I have got a super special treat in a conversation for you. We're going to be talking about marriage from the standpoint of a man, husband's point of view, and women / the wives. So we've got two authors here today. We have Willie Miller, who has authored 7 Days Journey to Loving Your Wife, for better or for worse. And we also have Ellen Flowers Fields here, along with Charlotte Harris, and they are two of the authors of But He Brings You Mangoes. So welcome to the show, everyone. Let's get the conversation started. So I want to start with you ladies first, because you have 7 authors. So I want one of you to mention the other ladies who authored this with you. But I really want to know, where did it come from? How did it happen? Were you sitting around having coffee, wine, and said, this is what we're going to do? Ellen?
Well, thank you, Toni. The anthology is a compilation of the lives of 7 women. And the vision behind it really started with conversation between myself and one of the other authors, Anne Frank, where I was sharing with her that I had a heart. God had been laying on my heart marriages, and that I felt really strongly that there was a need to reach people and to really have candid conversations about marriage. So Anne indicated that we really need to bring some women together and talk about how we can begin to support each other in that journey and maybe look at writing a book. Wouldn't it be great to write a book? Absolutely. And we both realized neither of us had time to write an entire book, but maybe if we wrote a chapter in a book. So we had a first meeting, I think it was in 2003 or 4, somewhere like that.
Is that right, Charlotte?
No, it was like 11 or 13.
I'm sorry, yeah, 13, that's right. My years are real. And there were 12 women that joined us at that time to have the conversation. And finally came down to about 7 of us who committed to the writing process.
And Charlotte, when did you come on board?
I was at the first meeting.
You were at the
there.
first
I was with
meeting.
the first group, so I came in with the original 12
Okay, so tell me, how did you come up with the title?
of the book.
Sorry.
Okay. The book, But He Brings You Mangoes. When we were sitting around, after we had finished the writing, we were looking at titles. What would be a title that would capture people's attention? We went through titles of marriage books that were already out there. We looked at some things that were there, and we were like, no, that's not it. So we were just having some back and forth conversations about content that's in the book. And somebody says, well, like, but he brings you mangoes. And one of the authors, Ellen, it talks about it in her chapters, describes a situation where her mother wanted to know, didn't feel like she was being appreciated or loved by her father. And Ellen said, well, but he brings you mangoes. And as we talked about that, we said, that's it. That's it. But he brings you mangoes represents how your spouse shows you love versus your expectation of what it should be.
I actually have to admit, I kind of knew that when I saw the title. I was like, you know what? Maybe everybody wouldn't want mangoes.
Yes.
But you have to work with it.
Yes, yes. It's appreciating how they do it. And again, that expectation. Yeah, well, my husband doesn't love like this. Well, it doesn't mean he doesn't love you, but love you in this way, and learning to see that.
We're going to talk some more about that and get into the nitty gritty. But Will, I want you to tell me about how you came up with your book and title. Were you just sitting around one day and said, I need to do this? Or was it birthed out of your marriage?
It was birthed out of 2 marriages. One failed marriage after 20 years, and then the second marriage, the heat of merging ourselves together as one, I found myself looking at the possibility that, man, this might not work. So I actually started going into prayer about it, and then I found myself trying to, maybe I should fix my wife, but then as I went through the process, I found out that really I needed to fix myself. But as I went through the process, I started to learn that marriage required something different. It's one thing when you have a brotherly love or a sisterly love. God says to do unto others as you will have them do unto you, but in marriage, he gives a commandment for husbands to love their wives as he does. So it's a God love that's required